Hello, I am Mike.
Hello, I am Lily. Welcome to English Podcast Flow.
Today we are tackling a challenge that many English learners face: how to actually think in English instead of constantly translating in your head.
Yes, this is a very common obstacle, and it can really hold people back from reaching fluency and feeling confident in their speaking abilities.
It can feel like you are always a step behind, struggling to keep up with the conversation because you're stuck translating every single word.
Exactly, and that's why today we want to explore some practical strategies to shift your mindset and start thinking in English more naturally.
We will be looking at some simple, everyday habits you can adopt to make English a more integral part of your life and train your brain to think in the language almost effortlessly.
It appears that by changing the way you think, you can unlock a whole new level of fluency and really start to internalize the language.
So let's dive right in with our first tip, which might seem obvious but is often overlooked. Make English a constant presence in your daily life.
Studies show that our brains are incredibly adaptable, and the more we expose ourselves to something, the more familiar and automatic it becomes.
So the idea here is to create an environment where you are constantly encountering English, even in small ways throughout your day.
For example, something as simple as changing the language settings on your phone and apps to English can make a big difference.
Think about it. Every time you check your messages, scroll through social media or use a navigation app, you are reinforcing those English words and phrases in your mind.
It's like creating little pockets of English immersion throughout your day, which can really add up over time.
And it is not just about passively absorbing the language, it is also about actively engaging with it.
That brings us to our next tip, which might sound a bit silly at first, but trust me, it is incredibly effective. Talk to yourself in English.
I know it might feel strange at first, but try narrating your actions throughout the day, as you are getting ready in the morning, making breakfast, or even just walking down the street.
You can say things like, I am brushing my teeth, or I am putting on my shoes, or I am going to the store.
It might seem simple, but by verbalizing your thoughts and actions in English, you are creating a direct link between your mind and the language.
Studies show that when we speak our thoughts out loud, we are strengthening those neural pathways and making it easier for our brains to process the language.
It is like building a bridge between your thoughts and your words, making the connection smoother and more automatic.
And don't worry about making mistakes at this stage. The goal is to get comfortable with the sound of your own voice speaking English, even if it is just to yourself.
Now let's move on to a technique that can help you structure your thoughts in English more effectively, learning in chunks instead of single words.
Many English learners make the mistake of trying to memorize isolated words, which can make speaking feel disjointed and unnatural.
Instead, focus on learning phrases and expressions that are commonly used together in natural English conversation.
For example, instead of just learning the word happy, learn phrases like I am happy, that makes me happy, or I am happy to see you.
These chunks act as building blocks for your speech, allowing you to express yourself more fluently and naturally without having to translate every word individually.
It is like having pre-made pieces of a puzzle that you can easily fit together instead of having to search for each individual piece.
So start paying attention to how words are used together in context and try to incorporate these chunks into your own speaking and writing.
Now let's talk about a fun exercise that can help you train your brain to think and react quickly in English, the 5-second description challenge.
This is a great way to push yourself out of your comfort zone and force your brain to access English vocabulary quickly.
The idea is to choose an object and give yourself 5 seconds to describe it in as much detail as possible using English.
For example, let's say you choose the object pen. You might say something like, it is a long, thin object used for writing. It has a metal tip and is filled with ink. It comes in different colors.
The key is to not overthink it. Just blurt out whatever comes to mind in English, even if it is not grammatically perfect or perfectly eloquent.
By doing this regularly, you will start to notice that you are able to access English vocabulary more quickly and spontaneously, which is essential for fluent conversation.
Now let's explore how you can use everyday decisions as opportunities to practice thinking in English.
We make countless small decisions throughout the day: what to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, and so on.
Instead of making these decisions automatically in your native language, try to consciously make them in English.
For example, if you are trying to decide what to have for breakfast, you might say to yourself in English, I am feeling hungry. Should I have toast or cereal today? I think I will go with cereal. It sounds quick and easy.
By bringing English into these everyday moments, you are making it a more integral part of your life and gradually shifting your internal dialogue to the language.
Now let's talk about another powerful tool for immersing yourself in English: watching videos without subtitles.
Many English learners rely heavily on subtitles, which can be a crutch and prevent them from fully engaging with the spoken language.
While subtitles can be helpful at times, Try watching short videos or clips without subtitles to train your ear and get used to the natural rhythm and flow of English.
It is okay if you do not understand every single word at first. Focus on grasping the main idea and paying attention to the sounds of the language.
As you become more comfortable, you can gradually increase the length and complexity of the videos you watch without subtitles.
Now let's introduce a fun challenge that can really help you immerse yourself in English, thinking the no translation game.
This is a great way to push yourself to stay in English mode for an extended period of time and to force your brain to think creatively in the language.
The rule is simple. For a set amount of time, let's say 30 minutes or an hour, try to think only in English without translating anything back into your native language.
This might sound daunting, but it is actually a lot of fun, and it could be surprisingly revealing.
You might find that you are able to express yourself more naturally and creatively in English when you are not constantly translating in your head.
And if you come across a word that you do not know in English, try to describe it using other words or phrases that you do know.
For example, if you can't remember the word refrigerator, you might describe it as the cold box in the kitchen where we keep our food.
This not only helps you communicate your message, but it also expands your vocabulary and strengthens your ability to think flexibly in English.
Now let's talk about a common fear that many English learners face: the fear of making mistakes.
It is completely natural to feel nervous or self-conscious when speaking a language that is not your native tongue.
But it is crucial to remember that making mistakes is an inevitable part of the learning process.
In fact, I would argue that mistakes are essential for growth.
Every time you make a mistake, it is an opportunity to learn something new, to correct yourself, and to improve your understanding of the language.
So instead of viewing mistakes as failures, see them as valuable learning experiences.
And remember that most people are understanding and forgiving when it comes to language learners.
They appreciate the effort you are making, and they are more interested in communicating with you than in pointing out your errors.
So do not let the fear of making mistakes hold you back. Embrace the learning process and keep practicing.
Now let's move on to a technique that can help you integrate English into your daily routine, even further thinking in English before bed.
Before you drift off to sleep, take a few minutes to review your day in English.
Think about the things you did, the conversations you had, and any new words or phrases you encountered.
This helps to consolidate your learning and to reinforce those English connections in your brain.
It is like a mental rehearsal that prepares you for speaking and thinking in English the next day.
By making this a habit, you will be amazed at how much your fluency and confidence improve over time.
So those are some practical tips to help you shift your mindset and start thinking in English more naturally.
Remember that it is a journey and it takes time and effort to develop the habit.
But with consistent practice and a positive attitude, you can absolutely achieve your goal of thinking and speaking English fluently.
And the rewards are well worth it. Being able to think in English opens up a whole new world of communication and understanding.
So what are you waiting for? Start incorporating these tips into your daily life today and watch as your English skills soar to new heights.
Now, building on the idea of making English a part of your daily life, let's talk about how you can use English to navigate those moments when you don't know the exact word.
Yeah, this is a common stumbling block for language learners. You know that feeling when a word is on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't quite grasp it?
Instead of getting flustered or immediately switching to your native language, try to describe the word using other English words that you do know.
It's like a little mental workout for your English muscles. You're flexing your vocabulary and finding creative ways to express your thoughts.
For instance, imagine you're trying to tell someone about a recent movie you saw, but you can't recall the word plot.
Instead of giving up, you could say something like, I really enjoyed the movie. The story was so interesting and kept me guessing until the very end.
Exactly. You've successfully conveyed your meaning without letting one missing word derail the entire conversation.
This technique not only helps you in the moment, but it also trains your brain to think more flexibly in English, finding workarounds and building those crucial connections between words and concepts.
Now let's address a fear that can be a real roadblock for many English learners: the fear of making mistakes.
It's completely understandable to feel nervous about speaking a language that's not your native tongue, but it's so important to remember that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process.
In fact, I'd argue that if you're not making any mistakes, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough to truly grow.
Think about it. When a baby learns to walk, they stumble and fall countless times before they finally master the skill.
It's the same with language learning. Every mistake is an opportunity to adjust your course and get closer to your goal of fluency.
So instead of viewing mistakes as failures, try to see them as valuable feedback that helps you fine-tune your skills.
And keep in mind that most people are understanding and patient with language learners. They appreciate the effort you're making.
Absolutely. They're more interested in connecting with you and understanding your message than in judging your grammar.
Now let's talk about some fun and engaging ways to make thinking in English a more regular part of your routine.
It shouldn't feel like a chore. It should be something you enjoy and look forward to.
One great approach is to incorporate English into your hobbies and interests.
For example, if you love cooking, try following recipes in English or watching cooking shows hosted by English speakers.
If you're a music enthusiast, listen to English songs and try to decipher the lyrics. You'll be surprised how much vocabulary you can pick up this way.
And for movie buffs, watching movies and TV shows in English, with or without subtitles, can be a great way to immerse yourself in the language.
The key is to find activities that genuinely interest you, so that learning English feels like a natural extension of your passions.
Now let's revisit a classic learning tool that can be used in a fresh way to enhance your English thinking: flashcards.
Many people associate flashcard with simple vocabulary memorization, but they can be so much more than that.
Instead of just writing a word and its definition on a card, try creating scenarios or prompts that encourage you to think in English.
For instance, you could have a flashcard that says, ordering food at a restaurant.
When you see this card, you could practice mentally ordering your favorite dish in English, thinking about how you would ask for a table, make your order, and request the bill.
You can even challenge yourself to come up with variations like ordering for a group or dealing with a special dietary request.
This kind of active practice helps you develop the ability to think on your feet and handle real-life situations in English.
Now let's delve into a powerful technique that can deepen your connection with English visualization.
Visualization is all about creating mental images to represent words, concepts, and even entire scenarios.
It's a way of bringing the language to life in your mind, making it more concrete and memorable.
For instance, if you're learning the word beach, don't just memorize the definition. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing on a sandy beach, feeling the warm sun on your skin, and hearing the sound of the waves crashing against the shore.
By engaging multiple senses, you create a richer and more lasting memory of the word.
And you can apply this technique to more complex ideas as well.
Imagine you're reading an article about climate change. Instead of passively scanning the text, try to visualize the melting glaciers, the rising sea levels, and the impact on various ecosystems.
This not only helps you understand the content better, but it also makes the language more vivid and impactful.
Now let's explore the power of games in fostering English thinking skills.
Games aren't just for kids. They can be a fantastic way for adults to learn and practice English in a relaxed and enjoyable setting.
Word games like Scrabble and Boggle are great for expanding your vocabulary and sharpening your spelling skills.
Board games like Monopoly or Clue encourage you to use English in a more social and interactive context, negotiating, making decisions, and explaining your strategies. And of course, there are countless online games and apps specifically designed for English language learners.
Games offer a unique opportunity to learn without feeling like you're studying. It's all about having fun while subtly reinforcing your language skills.
Now let's shift our focus to a topic that might seem internal, but has a profound impact on your language learning journey: self-talk.
Self-talk is that constant stream of thoughts and commentary running through our minds.
And it can either be a supportive friend or a harsh critic when it comes to learning English.
If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm terrible at English, or I'll never be fluent, you're creating a negative cycle that undermines your progress.
Instead, make a conscious effort to cultivate positive self-talk.
Replace those negative thoughts with affirmations like, I am capable of learning English, or I am making progress every day.
By shifting your internal dialogue, you create a more encouraging and supportive learning environment.
Now let's explore a time-tested method for practicing English and gaining valuable self-awareness: journaling.
Journaling in English offers a unique opportunity to process your thoughts and emotions while simultaneously honing your writing skills.
You don't have to worry about grammar or spelling mistakes. Just let your thoughts flow freely onto the page.
You can write about anything that comes to mind: your day, your dreams, your goals, your fears, your observations about the world around you.
It's a safe space to experiment with language, to try out new vocabulary, and to express yourself without the pressure of an audience.
Journaling can also help you identify patterns in your thinking and become more aware of your own unique voice in English.
Now let's expand our horizons beyond language itself and talk about the importance of cultural awareness.
Language and culture are intricately intertwined. Understanding the culture behind a language can deepen your comprehension and make your communication more nuanced and effective.
When you're learning English, it's not just about memorizing vocabulary and grammar. It's also about understanding the customs, humor, social norms, and values of English-speaking cultures.
For example, knowing about the importance of personal space in certain cultures can help you avoid misunderstandings in social interactions.
Or understanding the concept of sarcasm can prevent you from taking a joke too literally.
You can gain cultural awareness through various avenues like reading books, watching movies, listening to music, and even traveling, if you have the opportunity.
Now let's tap into the power of music to make English learning more enjoyable and effective.
Singing along to English songs is a fun and engaging way to practice pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm.
When you sing along to a song, you're not just passively listening, you're actively engaging with the language and internalizing its musicality.
Choose songs that you enjoy and listen to them repeatedly. You'll be surprised how quickly you start to pick up new words and phrases.
And don't worry if you don't understand every single word at first. Just focus on the overall meaning and have fun with it.
Now let's talk about a mindset that is essential for success in any learning endeavor, a growth mindset.
A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities are not fixed but can be developed through effort and dedication.
It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, which assumes that your intelligence and talents are predetermined.
When you have a growth mindset, you embrace challenges, view mistakes as learning opportunities, and persevere even when things get tough.
This mindset is particularly crucial for language learning because it's a journey filled with ups and downs.
So cultivate a growth mindset by focusing on the process of learning, celebrating your progress no matter how small, and embracing the fact that you will make mistakes along the way. And building on the idea of persistence, let's talk about the power of making English a part of your bedtime routine.
Yeah, winding down with English can be incredibly beneficial. It's like giving your brain a final dose of the language before you drift off to sleep.
It appears that just a few minutes of thinking in English before bed can make a big difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Try reflecting on your day in English. Think about what you did, who you talked to, any new words or phrases you encountered.
You can even mentally rehearse upcoming conversations or presentations in English.
It's like giving your brain a chance to process and absorb the language while you sleep.
Now let's talk about a technique that can be especially helpful for visual learners, using pictures and images to represent English words and concepts.
This is a fantastic way to make learning more engaging and memorable.
Our brains are wired to process visual information very effectively. So by associating words with images, you're creating stronger neural connections.
For instance, if you're learning the word mountain, don't just memorize the definition. Picture a majestic snow-capped peak towering over a lush green valley.
You can use flashcards, create your own visual dictionaries, or simply search for images online.
And you can even use this technique to remember more abstract concepts.
For example, if you're learning about the concept of freedom, you could picture a bird soaring through the sky.
This kind of visual association can make the concept more concrete and easier to grasp.
Now it's important to acknowledge that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to thinking in English.
Absolutely. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's perfectly fine.
The key is to experiment with different techniques and find what resonates with you.
Don't be afraid to try something new, even if it feels a bit silly or unconventional.
And remember that it's a journey, not a race.
Yeah, there will be ups and downs, moments of frustration, and moments of triumph.
The most important thing is to stay curious, stay persistent, and most importantly, have fun along the way.
And remember, the more you practice thinking in English, the more natural and effortless it will become.
Eventually, you'll reach a point where you don't even realize you're thinking in English. It will just happen automatically.
And that's the ultimate goal, to be able to think and speak English with the same ease and fluency as your native language.
So keep practicing, keep experimenting, and keep believing in yourself.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way.
That's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening.
We hope you found these tips and technique helpful, and we encourage you to start incorporating them into your English learning journey today.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep flowing.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow and reach more English learners like you. By subscribing, you'll never miss a new episode, and by liking the video, you're letting us know you want more helpful content. Thank you for your support. It means so much to us.